In Ukraine, Russian strikes continue across the south and eastern part of the country. Overnight missiles hit both Odessa, the port city, and Mykolaiv regions. Those strikes drawing additional scrutiny as Ukraine looks to export grain under an agreement negotiated with Russia. This comes just days after a bipartisan group of lawmakers returned from Ukraine, where they met with President Zelenskyy, saw the war's impact on Kyiv and the surrounding cities. Among them, Illinois Congressman Mike Quigley, and he joins me now. Congressman, thanks for taking the time this morning.
Morning, Jim.
So you were there as Russia struck the port of Odessa one day after Russia, along with Ukraine and others, had signed a deal to export Ukrainian grain. Russia has since attacked Odessa again. Do you believe Russia will abide by that deal? Do Ukrainian officials you met with believe they will abide by it?
Well, the Ukrainian officials were quick to point out they weren't a signatory to that, and they don't want to negotiate. You know, that deal was, they remind us, was struck between Russia and other countries. And their reaction, again, we were able to see this in real time, was, see, you can't trust the Russians. I also believe that the Russians think that they can continue to shell these ports and not think that it's violating the deal. I don't know that they care that much about it. They may have gotten something from it, but they don't see that as dramatically inconsistent as the rest of the world does.
Is any grain going to get out of the country? Because the concerns are, right, that this causes a global food crisis.
It will cause a global food crisis. They're not just the breadbasket of Europe. Ukraine's the breadbasket of Eastern Africa and much to the Middle East. There's some grain getting out in alternative paths, and perhaps some will go through the path through this negotiated deal, but it'll be at a far more limited basis. You know, this is Putin channeling his inner Stalin, using food as a weapon against the rest of the world.
Since the arrival of HIMARS, this U.S. NATO-supplied rocket system, Ukrainians have been hitting key Russian targets with greater accuracy and frequency, command posts, ammunition storage facilities. After speaking to Ukrainians there, is it their view, is it your view that these weapon systems are turning the war?
They're making a dramatic difference. And when we met with the defense ministry and President Zelenskyy, that's what they wanted to talk about. It's pushing the Russians back, and it's giving the Ukrainians an opportunity through indirect fire to win the battle. So, of course, look, you've seen the interesting history of how we've armed Ukraine, from arming what we thought was going to be an insurgency with javelins and stingers, to then howitzers, and now these. And, of course, what's next? Weapon systems with even longer ranges that can do even more to help push back the Russian military, the ATACMS.
With each additional weapon, right, a previous barrier goes down, right? Because initially there was even hesitation to give those Javelin missiles and others. They were worried they would fall into Russian hands, and they used them. That was key in Kyiv. They were hesitant to give in some of these longer range rocket systems, fear of how Russia would react. But in each case, Russia has not given a catastrophic action towards the West, say striking NATO. I wonder, do you think NATO, the U.S., waited too long?
Well, I honestly believe I was saying so from the beginning, that, you know, we should have adapted from, again, battling what we thought was going to be an insurgency and stop worrying about Putin's red lines and start creating our own. And there I'm paraphrasing the former commanding general, two former commanding generals of NATO. At this point in time, when you see the genocide that's taking place, and the fact that a sovereign democratic country can be wiped off the face of the earth, we need to give them what they need.
Another topic, China and Taiwan. The Speaker of the House, member, of course, your party, Nancy Pelosi, planning to visit there. But China really rattling the saber about how it might respond to this. And there is growing concern within the Biden administration that this would be too disruptive. I wonder, do you think it would be a mistake for the Speaker to follow through and go ahead with this trip?
You can't let Beijing dictate what the Speaker of the House can do. Congressional delegations have been traveling to Taiwan for as long as I've been there and before, and that should continue. But they also travel to Beijing, so Beijing has to understand that, and we can't let them dictate that policy. I understand the sensitivities involved, particularly when we're engaged in a proxy war elsewhere. But at the same time, we have to work with the Biden administration to sort this out.
Are you concerned, based on your discussions, that China's reaction to this would be particularly severe? That there are fears of shutting down the Taiwan Strait?
I am concerned that they will escalate. At the same time, the fact is we can't let China dictate all of that policy. They're being extraordinarily aggressive in many of the things they've been doing in the last 10 years, and I expect that that will continue. The United States and our allies in the region have to come to terms with that and recognize that that threat's going to exist. The fact that the Speaker of the House wants to simply visit there shouldn't change our policy.
Congressman Mike Quigley, welcome back from Ukraine. We're glad you're safe.
Thank you. Take care.